In this step, we shall understand how the height and width attributes work. So just like we saw with the margin and padding attributes, uh, you can specify values for attributes dealing with dimensions of your element, either in terms of pixel units or as a percentage of the containing element, right? Of course, you can also use other units such as point, centimeter, etc. But it is recommended that you stick to either pixels or percentage. So let's show you how we can assign the width attribute, right? And you can repeat these experiments with the height attribute as well. So what we can do is we can specify a particular width for an element. So in this case, we shall specify a width of 200 pixel for the change me div element. So let's hit preview, and there you see that the width of this particular div element has been fixed at 200 pixel. What we could also do is specify a percentage, right? So what's going to happen in this case? First, the browser is going to compute the width of the containing element, which in this case happens to be the main page div element. So let's say the browser figures that the width of the main page element happens to be 500 pixels, right? So then what the browser will do is compute 20% of that, which is 100 pixels, and assign that to the change me div element, right? So in this case, as you can see, with 20%, we have fixed a particular width which is different from those of the other elements. Now, so this is so far straightforward. Now, what may happen is when you're working with percentage values, often you might not be able to predict the exact width of the containing element, right? So, the user may be using smaller resolution screen, the user may be using resize screens or smaller devices, etc. And you want that your element should be at least at least this much wide. So let's say in this case we want that, alright, we will set the width to 20% of the containing element, but under no circumstances should the actual width of this change me div element be lesser than 100 pixels. So how would you achieve that? Well, thankfully there is a way to do that. You assign a min width attribute and say that, okay, my min width is 100 pixels, right? So let's save, let's hit preview. So what will happen is that even if the computed width of change me happens to be less than 100 pixel based on the 20% number, the displayed width will always be 100 pixel. If 20% is greater than 100 pixel, then that is what is assigned, right? So let's take an example to make this clear. So let's say I assign a width of 1%, right? So let's save this and let's hit preview. So what's going to happen is that although 1% in this case would be lesser than 100 pixel, but since I have assigned a min width of 100 pixel, the displayed width of this element is 100 pixels, right? Similarly, you can also assign a max width if you do not want your element to be wider than a certain number. One final thing to note here is that in certain browsers, for example in Internet Explorer versions 8 and below, or possibly it's 7 and below, the min width, max width, min height and max height attributes are not honored, right? So therefore you must be careful while using this attribute, especially if you want a cross-browser solution.